did not get the cue, or whether or not it was a cued, but whatever it is, it was what it is. It's a beautiful Friday morning. It is so beautiful. The sun is out in all its glory. We thought the we were going to have rain and according to the weather forecast, but that is what nature is. It's unpredictable, and that's what men try to do always. It's time we try to always change rules of nature. I think that is the only thing that we can do. Yes, it's Carla that I have in my studio who are confused herself, and I suppose that is why. Well, you know what? They said everything that starts bad tend to end up good. Let's hope it's in this case. Good morning to you, those of you who are in tune to Win FM 98.9. It is going to be a very good morning. I have with me two guests in the studio. We are talking about reparation. We're getting up to that point in time tomorrow. I think it is. It's the anniversary of emancipation, where our ancestors were brought from Africa and enslaved into a new world. And I think at 400 years they were there, and we are celebrating the fact that we ourselves are emancipated, I hope, and that how we can move forward. I think reparation in the mind of people, it's compensation for the atrocities that was dished out to our ancestors. Me, being the controversial person I am, would enjoy this discussion this morning because I want somebody to tell me, Carla and Ras Aya. Ras Aya, those are the two people I have in my studios, but first let me welcome them. Ras Aya, welcome you to Win FM and to Your Views, as a program that you're on and the one that I'm hosting this morning. And I do hope that our discussion will be a fruitful one.
Give thanks.
Okay, and Carla, it is always a pleasure to have you.
Good morning, Sandra.
Our discussions are always controversial, and I don't think today will be any otherwise.
Good morning. I am here as the chair of the St. Kitts Nevis National Reparations Committee, a committee that was formed earlier this year, and we have been on a drive, what I coined a media blitz, going to various radio stations, going on television and so on, to talk about reparations, to talk about emancipation. It's very apt that this is happening at this time because this week, as Sandra so rightly said, tomorrow is Emancipation Day. It's a day, the 1st of August, 1834, slavery was abolished. This is when the powers that be at the time decided that freedom would be given to the enslaved. But here in St. Kitts and in many of the Caribbean islands, they were put into a 4-year apprenticeship period, which took it to the 1st of August, 1838. So what we call full freedom was supposedly granted on the 1st of August, 1838. Over the years, we have forgotten that. You know, some of us know, some of us are not conscious of it. Nevis for years have been celebrating Culturama around this time, so they focus on emancipation quite a bit. But in most of the islands, growing up, you would have heard August Monday. And so we are going picnicking and that sort of thing, but we didn't know that it was actually a celebration of what happened on the 1st of August, 1838, the full abolition, the full emancipation from slavery.
Okay, yeah, we fully emancipated from slavery. If that is the case, then why are we having a discussion this morning? I suppose that is what we're going to talk about. Ras Aya, it's
I would like to say,
yeah. You want to pray? Okay, let's pray.
Yeah, give thanks and praises to all that we are here in the studio of WinFM and to the invitation that was extended from Sister Carla to the Nyabingi House. We are here to just make a way of making sure that our people have a full understanding of the forward way of African liberation to our people, because we are able to see many things are being diverted between as the concept within religion. So we say we are here to conform as spiritual people where we have existed from old age. So we say within our going forward, we would like to bring the Father in our midst to guide us safely in this deliverance of this full discussion today. Give thanks. O the I am, Psalms 8. O the I am, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. One step their glory above the heaven. Out of the mouth of babe and suckling at the warden's strength. It is the enemy and their vengeance. When they consider their own, our Father, the works of thy fingers, the moon, the star, the other day. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that visited him? Thou may lay low than the angels, and come with glory and honor. Thou mayest have dominion of the works of thy hand. Thou put all things on thy feet, all sheep and oxen, beasts of the field, for the years and fishes of the sea. As the path of the sea thereof, O Haile, Selassie, King Rastafari, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. Give thanks, Sister Sanja, for bringing that invitation, because we really need to see the way we're going forward, and only how we can say we're now here to pursue anything and anyone in belief, but we say we must have balance of tolerance and respect where we go forward to make sure our people don't fall in the trap where we were before.
Thank you. You know, that is humbling for me. It has actually changed my mindset and the thought pattern that I came in here with this morning, and I'm grateful for that. Sometimes prayers does that, and it's a good thing that you would have said, let us pray.
Yes.
And we invite the spirit of our Creator, Heavenly Father, the I am,
Yes.
and you know, I believe that He's the I am. He said He was I am, so the I am that I am, that we can invite His Spirit here amongst us today, and so we can all humble ourselves and recognize that this is a learning process, because all of us don't have the information, and we're trying to see where we can find it.
Yes, I just want to put in there, that's one of my favorite psalms as well. And I actually like, there's a song by Crucial Banky, How Excellent is Thy Name. So, it brought us right to this point.
And it's very controversial. Everybody wants to know what his name is, and nobody can seem to ascertain what the real name is. So I refer to it as I am that I am, because it makes me feel that I myself,
Yes,
I have the
exactly.
God in me, and so I can excel above those and excel above these things that we're going to discuss, excel above that mental slavery that we have found ourselves in.
True.
It gives us the power within ourselves to know that we can transcend beyond all the atrocities that we have gone through, or foreparents have gone through, because I didn't go through that, or ancestors would have gone through, and we can appreciate the fact that it wasn't a path that they carved for us, but it's a journey that we have to continue for them, and that's what it is. So let's see how we can get into it. Carla, reparation. I don't like the word reparation. I like the word reparate, but let's talk about reparation. Let's talk about reparation. What is your intention, or the intention of the reparation committee that you chair? Can you give us some insight here? I think it's Nevis, how far we're going to go and where we intend to go.
Okay, well, St. Kitts and Nevis, like many of the Caribbean islands, were mandated by CARICOM. At the CARICOM level, governments formed the CARICOM Reparations Commission back in 2013. And they came up with a plan for reparatory justice. That plan is a 10-point plan, which includes a full apology, which includes repatriation, if some people choose that, which includes the developmental programs for the indigenous people who were decimated, and we still have descendants of them living within the Caribbean, many of them living at the lower strata. It talks about our public health, illiteracy eradication, uplifting knowledge of our Africanity. I'm not saying the right words because, of course, it's
Africanism.
not in front of me. Thank you, Rasayo. So I was trying to pull it from the top of my head. So cultural, the upliftment of cultural institutions. And if I missed anything, I'm sure Rasayo will follow up for me. Let me just glance through. Psychological rehabilitation, technology transfer. So those are the ones that I missed.
Okay, let's pick out some. Okay.
No, let me just continue. So St. Kitts and Nevis, as I said, like many of the islands, were supposed to put a committee in place. There was a committee in place a few years ago. It was headed by Ras Dabu Penny. Some of the members are actually on our current committee. If for some reason that committee did not continue its work, I think Ras Dabu left Ireland, and so it hasn't continued. This government has the Prime Minister in particular decided at the start of this year to, I think he had been thinking about it all of late last year, so he decided to, revamp the commission. They sent letters out, and the persons who invited, those who showed up, along with myself, because he had already named me as chair, we have a mandate to follow in what CARICOM has been talking about, what they have mandated. And so our journey here, what we have to do is to educate, sensitize, get information from people. People may have questions, they may have their own ideas as to how we go forward, and that sort of thing.
Wasaya, what is
Yes.
your feeling of reparation? That is, reparation for me, it's the compensation for the atrocities that was handed down to our ancestors, the decimation of our entire race. For me, that is what slavery would have done. So, reparation for me, that's my understanding of it, is that we are hoping that somebody will take the responsibility and they will compensate us for the atrocities that was committed against our people.
The first thing we have to look back at, when the bill was signed, who was paid first? And there is a method that we really need to concern on. And then when we look at that method, we say, well, them was people who weeping, but they get compensated for weeping reward for our labor. Now we are indicating now we need our reward for the labor our ancestors have done during those times in the shackles, and even a building institution for them to be able to be established on. So there is the concept that we say reparation is a format where we, as an African descendant, are creating to make sure that the next generation don't fall in the method that was created over the centuries, and they are still creeping in because we are not totally free.
Yeah, and okay, good.
I am actually glad that you brought that up, Rasai. And Sandra and I had discussions about that because I have information, and there is information online. Rasaya himself would have gone through, and with numerous people, you can find it yourself, of the compensation. Because as part, when slavery was abolished, to abolish slavery, England had to pacify the planters. And to pacify them, they decided to set aside £20 million to be paid out to the planters throughout the British Caribbean
For the money that they were going to lose.
for the loss of the enslaved people, because the enslaved people were considered chattel. They were owned, and so they wanted to pay them back. I mean, everyone, if you owned one slave, one African, I know you're. I don't want to get into the issue
Carla, you know
of
what?
the
You know,
word,
no. Let me
but
tell you about Islam the world.
it's okay. Let me continue the
Yeah,
point, because I don't want
okay.
us to get sidetracked into thing.
Yeah.
So once you owned an enslaved person, you got compensated, and this is the thing. Now, these people got compensated. The Africans began their life of freedom with nothing. It is the ingenuity of the African people at the time. This is how I like to put it, because you had people who had been making money. They found ways to make money, whether it was through their vegetable gardens, whether it was through pig rearing, whatever endeavors that they had. Some of them started to accumulate money. You would know of things like the susu, we call it here in St. Kitts, partner hand, which started off, many people don't know, but it started as far back as during the time of apprenticeship. So people started pooling their money. They putting it in the pot one person has, and they built their wealth that way because there was no bank they could go to. Okay, so when slavery was abolished, some of them had some worth, but for many, they had nothing. And so that's a vast difference from planters who owned wealth, who owned land, than the Africans who owned nothing. And I mean, there were so many things. When we think about it, there were so many things that were put in place to keep people down. So when you say that, why are we talking about reparations today? Think about it. There were laws put in place so that Africans would not own land.
Don't say what I didn't say.
No.
You're
I'm just
assuming
saying.
there's a discussion.
You asked the question. Why are we
Why
talking?
reparation?
Why reparations?
I want to
so
know.
these are all the things.
Okay.
Our people could not own land. If you were seen with an animal, a donkey, loaded up, you had to pay tax on your produce.
What's a practice
You
today
understand?
amongst us? It
Yes.
hasn't changed. And this is what I'm saying, Carla.
So this is why today we have putting in place, you know, this, and I mean, we are looking at Britain, but there are many other islands, many other countries that were part of the whole movement of slavery, but we are mostly the British Caribbean, so our target is Britain.
Okay, let's see if we can change the focus today, Arrest IR, because Carla and I are very controversial, and we're not going to change that. Let me tell you
No,
something.
I'm
let me
just
just
giving
make.
historical
Yeah, I
facts.
do, and
You
let me tell you
know,
what history
historical
does.
facts.
Let me tell you what the historical facts does. Facts do. They keep up that level of hatred. You know, Carla is talking about it, and I'm looking at her, and maybe she thinks that I'm going against what she's saying. But it regenerates that hatred again.
There's no hatred.
No. You can't tell me how I feel.
No,
I'm
but
telling
I'm
you,
saying for
when
you.
you listen to the atrocities handed down to you from your ancestors, and you think about the fact that we were treated less than animals, and I say to you, and I say to whoever is listening, money, for the love of money, our black people were enslaved. And if we continue the trend as black people waiting for people to pay us or compensate us, we will forever be enslaved, because we're waiting for somebody to make that decision. Who is going to make this decision? Who's going to force them to make the decision? They were very conscious of what they were doing from the beginning, and they're still conscious today. The question I'm asking, and I would wish that we could look at it, we have to start retraining our mind. One of my favorite songs is one by Bob Marley, says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves, we as an individual can free our mind. And that, when we start to look at the history, we can't change history, but we can carve a path going forward. We have to now look at our young people today, and we have to stop teaching them that kind of history. We have to teach them how we are going to move forward, how to understand our blackness. I was talking to a Nigerian yesterday. She's from Nigeria. She wasn't a child of a slave, an enslaved African. She is from Nigeria. And when she said to me about, the missionaries came and they told us what we should be and how we should behave, how we should dress, we should lose our accent and fighting to talk like an American, I asked myself the question,
Why?
the whole of Africa is tainted. Why Africa? It's not only those that came out of Africa that has a problem, but those who would have stayed there, who never traveled, because she made that a point of argument that they have never traveled outside of Africa. But they are behaving like us. Those who were brought out of Africa do not have. I asked her, so what religion are you? I'm going to done this. She said, we are Christians and we have Muslims in there. I said, what about the original African? Our parents don't want, there's no sign of it, because we were told to get rid of it. You see, so we are talking about, we can't, it's confusing for us. We don't have all the information. The information that was given to us is those that they want us to know. Some of it that they couldn't hide. So you see how bad it was? The worst we did not even see or read. So now we are supposed to look at a part of going forward. I understand your 10-point plan, Carla, but when they would have apologized, then when they would have apologized to us, what do we do after that? When they would have compensated us, what do we do after that? We are still in a system where we are downtrodden. How are we going to rise from that? That is the message for the people.
So the mechanism that is how we need to move on a term of reaching out and making sure the people have a clear view of restoring our glorious history. Because there's matter before, even slavery, that our people have been able to bring up and realize of making sure a society is basically developed on the code of own sustainability.
Yes.
That is what we're facing right now. So the method ain't to say that we're looking for economic balance within that. We're saying we're looking to make sure we have safeguard within the global community, because we are still left unfortunate.
That is the message. The message is about going forward. We understand that we are no longer we are under the influence still. That isn't changed, because we're still under the system. The system here, where Carla spoke about lands that we do deprive of. Look, we're still deprived of lands. We still have to go and buy. And there's certain people can only get certain lands. Here in St. Kitts, only certain clique of people live in a certain area. The low life people have to live on the low. They can't appreciate the views. It's a system where black people are still treating black people that way. So it's our mindset. It's confused.
But it's a psychological warfare
is.
still in the use of how we are able to penetrate. And you asked a quote there in your rational statement saying that basically why we can't stop teaching the things to our youth like that because like it create
It's that hatred, it
a
does.
hatred
Let-
come from. But I learn. Me no went no college, but me read and dissect a lot of things because of the elders who was there more in my life and my grandmothers. So we thank for those who able to shape us, not just me, because I don't look for my influence of my personality, but I look at the way of our community development within our youth pattern and how other people who have shaped it before us, so we could able to know what to build. But there's a lot of ways and means now. How are we going to be collective? And that's
Well, you know, when
problem.
we grew up, we were not enslaved, but in the era that we grew up in, we practiced that one hood, one brotherness, one neighborhood, everybody being one family. My mother could beg you flour, and that is the situation. Who broke that down? It happened in my time. Slavery was no longer there. Look at where we're going now. This is what we have to do. We have to reparate. We have to restore that sense of who we are, our identity. That is what we're looking for. Who do we identify with? Our culture. These are the things. Our spirituality. These are the areas that, I mean, we can only operate from a psychological aspect. And because it's a mindset, we have to start changing that. Let me not change your intentions of being here, but I would have gotten my place in, and then you can
So,
talk about reparations
let's
and hear what people have
you
to
asked
talk
about what is reparations. So let me just go through this. Reparations is the process, they say here, of repairing the consequences of crimes committed and the attempt to reasonably remove debilitating effects of such crimes upon victims and their descendants. Reparation 6, reconciliation between victims and beneficiaries. It is non-confrontational and conciliatory. Reparation 6, to restore equity in social relations, equality and justice before the law. Reparation 6, to heal, atone, and bring closure to the human tragedy of mass slavery.
That's what our
It
reparation
seeks,
is.
finally, to restore a higher moral order by removing the shame and guilt that persistently poison relations between descendants of all sides of the crime.
That is the
So-
word we're looking at, reparate and not reparation,
So-
the compensation.
The word is Sandra,
Reparate.
this is just I'm trying to. It is the same word. Reparations, reparate is the same word.
Different form
It
of
is
the
the
word.
same. It comes from the root word repair. So we are repairing, and all of what I have said there isn't far different from what you have been saying, because this is essentially what reparations mean. Okay, the fact that we go through the history, it is just to show people. You know, it is not to create hate, it is not to create anxiety, but if we are aware, if we are conscious of the journey, because like you were just saying, a few years ago, we were closer, and it was the way we lived. We lived more in community. So like, you know, I could go across the street, but we have become now more, you know, solitary. You know, so we all have our own thing. We barely know who our neighbor is. Far less to say, let me beg a pound of a cup of sugar or a pinch of salt. We barely. So the world, the whole, and so there's a need for us to begin to come together. How can we do that? If we are conscious, if we talk about things like what we used to do, then our young people, our current generation of parents and so on, can say, you know something, let us come together. And I'm actually beginning to see it among some young people, where people are, you know, let us have a gathering of sorts.
Gathering
Let us, you
here?
know, they
No.
yeah, I know they, well, they gather on their phones
I
a
mean,
lot.
Zoom
So-
and FaceTime.
I know COVID has made it
Ah,
even
before
worse.
that,
I
it's
know
done.
that's what I said. I know it has made it
Well,
worse.
we can indicate them same method and we vocalize
Yeah,
them to our
yeah.
way
So
of
we
ethnicity.
talk about this sort of thing, and so we can hope that we can get back to a sense of community. Maybe it will never be like what it once was, but the fact is we can get to a point of saying, well, you know, some level of greater community as we go forward because
Orientation.
of
but
the
let me give you a
consciousness.
step that not from the CARICOM book, because we have to start looking within our own community,
yes, sir.
because all practices are different to all of us. We are one Caribbean people, and CFI, we are Caribbean people, and we are all so different. Understand? And so let's start looking at us from here, how we could start it. You see, all of our old people, that generation that we are trying to get rid of, and the one that we don't embrace and we sit down with on a day-to-day basis, we put them in homes when they become old and think that they're old and so be cast away, and our history is going along with them. These are the people that we have to start to cherish. These are the people we have to start to carve a home where you have children going to there on a daily basis and they can interact with them, having an understanding of what used to happen. When I tell my children the way we grew up, the 3 stones and the way we cook, you look at it, people look at it as poverty. That was our culture. That was not being poor. We were better fed then than we are fed now. The fact that we couldn't wait for school to over at afternoons and we sit down, we have storytelling. And during that time of storytelling, we were taught of our history. It came down from that, and that was the practice of the Africans then, of our black people, of our ancestors. We have lost that. Children don't read anymore. So how are we gonna impart our information? How they're gonna impart the information, that information to them? The volume is too low still? That's what it's saying.
Someone had said
That is a problem that we have, is that people are not hearing us, that their volume is turned down. Sometimes you have loud people in here and sometimes you have soft people in here. I think that's one of the issues. So we're asking, so how are we going to, we have to start from that. It's about bringing back that kind of social interactions that we're losing. The cell phone is taking place. I look at my children now, sit in a room all by themselves, laughing like crazy people. Once ago, if you're by yourself and you laugh and you talk, people think that you're crazy. But it's the now thing. Things are plugged in the ear and they're walking on the road and they're talking, and people think that is the norm. It is not. We are losing that of us. We talk in reparation. We have to talk about restoring. We have to talk about repairing. We have to talk about rebuilding. We have to talk about, having an understanding of what we really want. I can get very passionate about it because I listen to the statements, I listen to the conversations, but we are losing ourselves into that focus of reparation. We don't want reparation. We want to be we want to be reparated. Not we want to be reparated. So that's what we need.
But seriously, on the gongs, we respect your term, and that's his value of taking in how you feel the concept that need to share. And basically, there is other methods that we need to really indicate of how we could safeguard of our people from not getting in those same kind of way that we see, because really and truly from how we here sitting and we knowing at this point in time their methods are used to even to create against even our people in this time who are pushing to safeguard our people history, because they don't want to see our history being passed out to give our youths them a benefit of the doubt, how to develop, how to share, and how to keep cherishing things that is memorable to their heart.
But we're teaching our children about our parents, our ancestors being, and Carla says it a lot of times, where our ancestors were lawyers and doctors and intelligent people to the new world. And our young people are taught that our people were slaves. We are slaves. We are slave children. We are children from the enslaved. We are children from people who practiced law long before and were very intelligent beings. But when we teach our children in school, the information in school, we're taught about the black man being hunted down like animals. We have been reduced to a state of no higher than the animal. We need to get rid of that. That's not who we are. That is what they made us into, and that is what they want us to continue to teach. We are an intelligent set of people. We have a spirituality that is second to none. It has been held and withheld from us, and we cannot pass it down to our children. This is the lesson that we have to pass on.
Well,
not the definition of reparation that applies to every and anything. Our definition of reparation is different.
Okay, you said something there, so I just want to be clear. Okay, one of the things that has been perpetuated in the media, whether it's television and so on, books, have shown Africans in a bad light. Okay,
Still.
What we have tried to do, what persons who have a strong African consciousness have tried to do, is to show that Africans come, a lot of the Africans who were brought here had their own way of life, their own culture, their own religion, their own methods of spirituality. We got here artisans, we got all sorts of people, kings, queens, princesses, those, came here, was stolen and brought here. Okay? So this is something, it depends on who's teaching the subject. Like people talk about education, they may get into all of that. I don't think any conscious teacher in the school system, any conscious mother or aunt or uncle would be teaching their child that we were, at the bottom of the totem pole. The fact is slavery. This is what we have to understand. Slavery, the institution of slavery, put our people at the bottom of the totem pole.
But when you use terms
Okay?
like hunted, doesn't that give you a sense of we were running wild in the forest and they came and they hunted us down? Those are the words that they use when they describe Africans that were taken from Africa. And this is the dialogue.
The word hunted is important here because when the Europeans went to Africa, there were Africans, and so we can go down that road as well because some people talk about that, the fact that Africans were involved in the capturing of their people. Now, within Africa, there was a system where they took slaves, they captured people and made them slaves, and they could move through that society and even become a part. But the Europeans had the guns, and they had things that they, got the Africans wanted. I guess at that time that was what they felt. And so they went and they encouraged them to go out there and damage other people's villages, pounds and so on. So so the word hunted is relevant because that is what they did. They destroyed other groups of people, other groups to get them, to bring them to the coast, to put them on slave ships so that they could be brought here. It doesn't, so you might think, okay, they're running around.
Schools. That's what is taught in the schools, and children who are not at,
so what is is there a difference? Is there a difference?
Yeah, it's a difference. When you use.
So do you think that they went peaceably?
No. I think you're misconstruing what I'm trying to say.
So I want this to be very clear as to what we are saying.
Right. I think you're misconstruing what I'm trying to say, Carla.
So
we are saying, and you've just said what is taught in the schools, and that is what made me into the person I am today. That is the hatred that has been inculcated in my DNA based on exactly. That has been because of the information that was given to us. I'm saying when terms like that are used, that Africans were hunted. You hunt animals. You don't hunt
but
people.
But they hunted Africans like animals.
But hear what I'm saying. So
they hunted, and you cannot get away. You are trying to get away from speaking the truth. Say it as it is. They hunted Africans like they were animals, and that is the truth.
And you want to talk about reparation? How do you think that is going to solve the problem?
So
when you're going to use those kind of terms?
Why are you trying to get away from the fact why are you trying to get away from the fact that people should not have built within them that consciousness? You are using the word hatred.
I think
but
you have
it
gone
is not
so far from what I'm trying to say.
It is consciousness.
I beg you just stop using them kind of stupid word, but consciousness and not hatred. It is
no,
hatred.
it is
Let's
no,
go to the phone lines and take this call. Let's take this
I don't
call.
know why you're using the word. It is for you to be conscious of what happened to your people so that it doesn't happen again.
Okay, let's take this call. Call your live on your views. I mean, it is about us and you and about all of us. Excuse us, though. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Greetings.
Greetings.
And let me greet you in the presence of the ancestors in whose shoulders I stand.
Precisely.
Welcome to your esteemed guest on the show, Sandra. Carla, you mentioned about a sum of money, which was 20 million pounds. And you also mentioned the apprentice period from 1830 1834 to 1838. That sum of money is much more.
Yes, because
Normal,
this is
then
why
it was
this is why
42
I
million.
say, caller, this is why I say that the planters were paid twice, because they were paid, they were compensated, and they also had the period of apprenticeship, which was another payment. They had to be appeased. Remember, I used the
Yes,
word.
because the total sum was 42 million pounds.
Right. At the end of the day, they would have gotten a lot more than the 20 million, but part of it was the cash, and the other part was the work that the enslaved continued to do for another 4 years, which brought them, garnered them further wealth.
And recent information disclosed that is just recently, 2015, that money was paid back.
Precisely.
From
So
the
our
British government.
people continued to pay for that. Our people who migrated to England, their tax dollars would have contributed to the paying back of that money as well.
What would you say today that it's been purported? I just listened to a clip from a colored person, an Asian, Asiatic, that says there should be a new beginning. Okay, this thing has been happening for quite a period of time, and it's not fit, it's not right, it's not expedient for me. Like, for instance, the Lloyds of London should not be paying back for what their predecessors, the bank managers, the managers of that institution had accumulated over the years. What would you say that there should be a new beginning? Let's wipe the slate clean. Let's start from now. I listen off here for that.
Really?
No, let me.
Caller, let's Sandra.
Yes.
Sandra, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and you know, Africa, you're exactly where I want to take this discussion. When we are paid.
I'm afraid your time is not. You probably have to invite the guest back.
Yeah, we'll definitely. We
Because-
don't have enough time. So give us this time. Let's look at the situation, because I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Carla, you're giving people you're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we were not hunted. Those are the terminologies that have been used, and we continue to hold on to that. That is what keeps us in the mindset that we are inferior. It has created an inferiority complex. Black people are stronger than that. When we get the monies, as we're looking
No,
for,
Sandra,
let's look at reparation.
I need to stop you because you cannot. Sorry. Because you cannot keep using words like this.
Like what?
Why are you saying that we are thinking? There is no time that we look at the Rastafarians who have been trodden.
Never
trod.
ask for money. They ask for.
Do they? Of course, they ask for money. Trillions of dollars. I came
the
across
Baba
an
Shanti
article.
right
Of
there.
course,
Some
there is
article.
money.
Baba
There-
Shanti
you-
says
A letter
yes,
to the Queen.
of course. So you know.
So let me ask you a question, and let's come to one.
You had
let's come to an understanding here, because we are moving into a discussion that is not going to help the people who are listening. Let's understand this. My argument is we should be compensated, not with money. We should be allowed to. The level playing field, so the playing field should be leveled. As black people, we supposed to assert ourselves to the positions that we were taken from. We were there. We live in a world of our own where we understand what humanity was about. We want to get back there. We don't want to fight with the Europeans and wait for them to apologize to us. We don't need their apology. They would have done what they would have done. They would have freed us. It is for us to start to repair ourselves. Find it within ourselves. When you get the money, when the money is handed down, that's another fight, because the black man, the government is going to get the money, and the people are going to be placed in the same situation like we are now.
That's why Sister Carla emphasized of conscious awareness.
And this is what I'm saying.
We are
said-
people who have able to create our own cultural development and even our society and our only time of life. So we cannot run from that
And we want
development.
that again. We
so
want
we
to be able
need
to do that
to
again.
able to bring back into that surgeon
Exactly.
to keep us as a people who we are.
That's exactly
and
what
where
I'm
we're
saying.
going.
But let's take away this mentality of
But
dependency.
it must
Okay,
be
can
practical
we-
within how we are seeing the farmer.
No,
can-
yes.
Yes.
Another set of
So
people
we
who looking
are
for money and
hello,
using us to
hello,
get it.
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
Okay.
We have not. We have talked about the 10-point plan.
10-point plan,
There
yes.
is nowhere in the 10-point plan. You cannot dismiss the 10-point plan when at the
Get
same,
away from planning,
when at
Carla.
the
Come with
same
your
ti-
own reasoning.
Sandra, please, I am here in my capacity as the chair of the reparations committee. And the CARICOM 10-point plan speaks to a leveling of the playing field. If you would read through the tenets of what it speaks about, nobody says that any government is going to be given XYZ amount, that any person is going to be given XYZ amount. This is exactly what it is saying. And
What is
this
it
is
saying?
this is the nature. I did send you the link, so you were supposed to read through it so that we could have had that discussion based on the link. So therefore, I am not going to sit here and run through all of it right now. So what I'm asking people to do is to go on the CARICOM website and go through it over time. Over the coming year, we are going to be doing quite a lot, whether it is writing in the newspapers, whether it's coming on media, whether it's in social media, to continue to sensitize people as to what is being
But
said.
this is what I'm saying. Give us an understanding, Carlo.
I just
no,
went through
Wait,
it.
Listen to
I
me.
just
But
went
you're not
through
listening.
it
You're
a
not
while
listening.
ago.
You're not listening. You're supposed to have an understanding of not reading the 10-point plan, because there are a lot of people who doesn't understand. You're reading 10 points. We want to understand the gist. We want to understand what we are really looking for here. What are we hoping to as Africans,
you
as
said-
displaced Africans, people who would have gone through that history of atrocities, and we know what have happened to our ancestors. We want to make sure that their labor was not in vain. We want to see, we want to bring back, we want to be able to teach our children that there was a life before slavery and how we used
So
to live
this-
as humans.
What did
So-
we talk about? What did we talk? I talked about an African knowledge base. Improving our knowledge of our African knowledge. So whether it is exchanges with Africa through tours, through bringing of lecturers and that sort of thing, educating on culture. You understand? Look at us within the region. How many museums do we have that persons can go through our what happened? When you talk about debt cancellation, so debts are owed to the bigger countries. If those debts are cancelled, we are already in a better place. Our governments now have the wherewithal to put us in a better place. Okay? So those are the things. When you talk about repatriation, some people may want to go back to live, and we've heard of Ghana putting in place the mechanism so that people could go back to Ghana to resettle. It was done in Ethiopia as well. People can go to Ethiopia if I choose, and I say I want to go back to. There's ways in which that you can repatriate. So a full apology means that you are taking responsibility for what for your role in it, and therefore you're going to give back. Okay, so we have these ideas that people are going to stand in line to pick up a check. It's not that. It is.
But that's the
one
message
of
that
the
you're
things-
giving out,
No,
though.
no. If you go through the 10-point plan and if you just listen to what I said, you would hear that this is not what it is saying.
We had a discussion the other day, and they said that the church already apologized. You would have gotten an apology. We have heard other people. We see people on a whole who have apologized for the atrocities. We are holding people who were not a part of it responsible. We have to look at it. No, and I want to get this. I want this to come over as it should. We are holding people who were not a part of it responsible. And it is posing a problem. It's not right. Because, of course, the white people, they would have done, and I'm going to look at it, it's a reality. They are placed in a position, and they were not the ones who did it. The mindsets are different today, and we are still encouraging that same thing. We are still preaching the same thing. If you continue to preach the same thing, you're going to get the same results. They have already apologized, and I'm asking, now that we have gotten an apology, what do we do? Where do we go? What are we waiting for? We have been emancipated from slavery. Why are we still maintaining that slavery mentality of somebody has to push us forward? We need to go forward on our own. We know who we are. We know from whence we came. It's in us. We can only do it on our own. That is the message for young people. We are killing our own still. It's happening amongst us because our people doesn't have an understanding of who we really and truly are. Teach us who we are. Teach our children who we are. understand love for
so-
one another, and then we would start within us. Start with us. When we can fix us, then we'd be able to fix the world, and we would have a better understanding of what we are fighting for. And the people who needs to make need to compensate us would recognize the situation, and they would start doing it to fight for what we really want from the beginning. We need basically a reformation of what African social changes. That is what we're looking at. I'm not bashing you, Carla, and don't get it wrong, because
you are
you're
not
trying to
bashing
force
me, Sandra. You are not bashing me, but
and
what
I'm not bashing your 10-point plan.
What I am trying to tell you is that what you are saying is what it is in there. But every time I talk about it, then it seems like you're saying something else.
No, because you know what you do? You're anticipating the discussions that we have, and you brought it here today thinking it's the same thing.
It is how you're answering. You're answering the question.
I told you.
I want you to listen to yourself, because what you are saying is what is actually in there. It is what it is.
You're looking at my passion, and you're putting it in a negative way.
Sandra, I'm not. You are. Do not stop going down that road.
I give thanks again, because we know how we go within the level of women concentration. But we know we're basically feeling the emphasis of how we will go forward as a people, and the gongs of how we should able to is a part of educational. And the educational will have to go in the depths that we have able to achieve of our foreparents, not just the ones of the context of, as we outlining of the atrocities, but we are seeing of those before of the atrocities. So those in the aspect of the before the atrocities, we can be able to relate what they are able to come and bring to a change of social impact, the level of the spiritual concept, and where we can be able to divert and bring as a safer community and a safer,
thank you,
of what we call as a universal brotherhood and sisterhood. So we are seeing, that's what Marcus Garvey has even emphasized, white man had been the forebearer of civilization for a couple of hundred years now, but so the damage that he have able to expound upon us as a people, we are able now to see the changes we can make. So it's us as a all to get all ways into the world to have a conference, and we sit down and able to have greater dialogue where we can make him understand of the method he has used to create this kind of this emphasis of where we see the race war, because we are not really looking for racial conflict, but we're saying we have to have an indication to make sure that our people don't be cheated and be disregarded when it comes to humanity.
Thank you. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And you see exactly what he just said. It is that's where we're supposed to be. We are supposed, because we are holding people responsible, and they were not there. They were not the ones who did what they did.
I let me stick a pin there again, because you said that before and you're saying it again. The people were not there. We were not there. Okay?
No.
And that is a fact. So the people were not there, and our people were not there. Us, as we live today, we were not there. We were not the ones who experienced it, and the people over there are not the ones who experienced it. Our ancestors experienced it. Their ancestors experienced it. The balance, how we live, how our economic status, our spiritual status, and all of this is off of what they have. Just like you said earlier, they took away what we had. They took away our names, they took away our religion, they took away our wealth. We started with nothing. They are up here, we are down there, because
and we continue to do so. We continue to put them up there, and we continue to stay down here.
The whole dynamic of the way in which the system is set up puts us in a lesser economic situation. So when Africa calls in and says about leveling the playing field, starting afresh, we cannot start afresh without reparations.
Carla, let me tell you something.
We cannot start afresh without reparations.
You have a mixture of cultures.
Why? Because, give me a break.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because economically, we are in a disadvantaged position.
Callum,
and that is what it
we
is.
are looking at two different cultures here, and I think that is a misconception.
Which two
You-
different
maybe because
cultures?
you don't know the culture that you came from. Blacks do not have the same mindsets as white. Their ups are not necessarily our ups, and our lows are not necessarily their lows. Our lows are misconstrued. People think that because we grow vegetables and we raise animals, that is a low life. That's the culture that we go for. We always provide our own food. We eat differently. Not now. We are living in a society where it's complex because we are following a culture that is not ours. There's some. I'm telling you, Carla. You had just said, but it is a fact. When we start looking at who we are, and that is one of the reasons why we are so strong, because our strength was made for the lifestyle that we should live. We are totally different to our desires are different to that of the white man. We used to walk a long time ago. We no longer walk, and then we are ill with diabetes and hypertension, and we blame it on somebody else. We become that because we are inactive. I am fat because I eat the food of the what white man feeds me, and I do the same lifestyle of the white man. I drive around in everything, creating an impression that is not supposed to be. We have lost our sense of who we are. We do not have an identity. We carry on names that don't belong to us. People can say what they want to, but everybody have a different mindset. And this is, you have your stance on it, and I have my stance. And we can only emancipate ourselves within our own self. We have to have an understanding of who we are and where we are. And I've already been emancipated. I'm waiting for you guys to reach that level, and then I'm going to join on the bandwagon. Up to now, I'm not fighting for something
when I talk,
nobody can pay me for the lashes that my foreparents had to go through. Nobody can pay me for the loss of my culture and my spirituality. Nobody can compensate me for the situation that we have found ourselves in, and my children have to suffer up to this point. Nobody can pay me. So if you all are looking for that, and nobody has to apologize to me for that, and I make no apologies for that one either.
Okay, so that's fine. That's fine, and you're very heated. So
yeah,
that's
very.
fine.
I tell you,
but
I get passionate about it.
To say, what I am saying, and let me reiterate what I'm saying, is
word.
that when, for instance, let us look at the American dynamic for a second. I don't really like to use the American dynamic, but it's very clear. At the abolition of slavery in America, they were promised 40 acres and a mule. The Africans on the American continent did not get that. Many people who came from Europe when they settled in America, in the American colonies, land was taken from the Indians and given. Large acreage were given to people from Europe. The same thing likewise here in these Caribbean islands. Land was given to the Europeans. So they started with these large land grants which were given to them. Did any enslaved person receive a land grant that they could have started their journey with? And so their descendants today can say that we own all of this acreage. Okay? No. The descendants of the plantocracy continue to be the ones who have held on to the majority of the lands, whether it is in America, whether it's here in the Caribbean region. So when we talk about the economics, we have to understand that this is the dynamic. Our people started off with nothing. There were laws put in place to keep our people from owning land. So on that note, I reiterate what I'm saying and say once again, we cannot level the playing field until there is reparations, until there is reparatory justice.
Okay.
And on that note, I close off.
I thank you for coming. It was a pleasure having you, and I suppose people are going to have their own opinion, but at the end of the day, you can wait for reparation. I have moved on. My position in life is that I'm the top, and I'm at the top, and nobody's going to be I live the life that I love, and I basically chart my own path. I've never been a slave, would never be a slave, and I'm not going to be a slave to the system either until we can get that into our health and inculcate it in our psychic. It's going to be an issue. your final words.
I'd like to say thanks a lot again for the invitation, Sister Carla, and thanks a lot to the host, Mrs. Sandra.
Sandra.
Queely.
Queely and Atherton are Platter's name.
Well,
Sandra is
love and respect still
is a given name
in the
by my
aspect
mother.
of joy.
Yeah,
So
thank
we
you.
say thanks for Winheffen for having us in the studio, and let the ancestors and the Almighty guide us safely
Definitely.
and go forward in our love, respect, and balance of thoughts and justice.
And,
Yes,
you know, I love you. I do. And I wish we can be as humble as you are. And that is something that we have to start bringing back to us again. Is it's my show. We have to bring back to again. Is that we have to rebuild that love. That because when you look at what's happening between black amongst black. Black life matters, and we always say that. But at the end of the day, we still do that same. We're destroying ourselves because we lack a sense of direction. We lack truly of who we are. Black people are people who, we are people who are naturally loving people. And that is why the white man took us, because they felt that they took our love and our hospitality as a weakness. And that is why we were enslaved. But it's within us. We can't change that. And I appreciate that.
Thanks a
Carla,
lot, man.
if you want to take 1 second to advertise, you can do so. Remember, you're free. So.
Yes, folks. So once again, the St. Kitts Nevis National Reparation Committee invites you to Independence Square tomorrow afternoon from 5 to 7. We will have a little cultural gathering, a commemoration gathering to on the 1st of August, 1st of August, we recognize is Emancipation Day, so we're having this Emancipation Day gathering on Independence Square in Bastia, St. Kitts. So we invite you from St. Kitts. I know Nevis is having their own, or the Rastafari Nyabingi order in Nevis. They will be doing some drumming and chanting and prayers over there. And likewise, many of the orders here on St. Kitts will be doing the same, but some of them will be joining us. We're going to have Sankofa. We're also going to have
Carla, we
the
out of time.
Nyabing.
I'm so sorry, but we are
Theocracy
definitely
order
out of time. We're
and
infringing.
many other persons. Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Sandra.
Sorry, it's a pity that I sound rude, but it's not being rude, but we're infringing another time, I suppose.
Thank
Bacchus is
you.
there and he has Nevis to tune in, and we have to do that. It's a pleasure. Enjoy the rest, and I do hope that you can tune in next week. Same time, same place, Win FM 98.9. Stay locked. We have other programs coming into you.
Sandra, thank you. That was
Me no know about you, but me love St. Kitts bad. Me no know what them a talk about. When them say St. Kitts mad, whenever